Welcome back to the Director's Garage, where today we've got a little something special for you. We've got a three headphone drop-out, drop-off shootout. Go figure that one out. I have no idea. But first, I'm going to do a couple of headlines because I like to do them. Now, first up, it's Black Friday week, and I'm like watching these for sales that like just grab me and go, I've got to have this. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not seeing anything out there. I'm seeing like 10% off, 15% off. I'm like, where's the 30% off? Oh my God, I got to have this deal. I'm so disappointed. I'm hoping that by the time this video hits air, somebody has stepped up to the plate and given us a good deal to go after out there, because so far it's been a whole lot of Next up, we're going to talk about some music. There's some great music releases coming this week, and the first one is from Billie Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Now he's releasing his second solo album. Well, his first one was a duet. It was with Norah Jones. Fantastic album, and it was like 2013, 2014, something like that. This is the first album he's doing entirely on his own, and it's called No Fun Mondays. And what he's been doing is, during the pandemic, he's been coming on Mondays and doing a song on YouTube, and it's a cover of something. Like, he did Manic Monday and even got one of the Bangles to come in and help out with the song. I thought that was really cool. But he's compiled all of these songs he's done into an album, and he's releasing the album. The cool thing about this is that his two sons are playing bass and drums, just like a three-piece band, just like Green Day. Really cool. Looking forward to diving into that album. Go. Next up, I'm going to talk about Miley Cyrus. Now, I'm not the biggest Miley Cyrus fan in the world, I gotta confess. I get the appeal, and I know there are people out there that love Miley. It's not my deal, not my jam, but it is noteworthy that she's releasing her first album in 3 years, and it's going to do well. The album is called Plastic Hearts, and it's got heavy 90s and 80s vibes. I've listened to a couple of tracks off of it. Check it out, see what you think. And the last album I'll call your attention to, Billy Corgan and Company. He's back with Smashing Pumpkins. Brand new album called Sire or Sear. I think it's Sire. We'll see. Plenty of pumpkin strangeness going on this album. It's going to be a delight to dive into, and I can't wait to see. The first song is really driving and very strange, and the visuals are strange. You're seeing them right now. That's going to be a delight to just check out. I always get a kick out of what they're doing. So it's time to get to that shootout. And what we're talking about today is the MOTU TH-X00, and we're going to send it up against the HD-6XX from Drop. And our final entry is the HE-5XX, just released 2 weeks ago. And let's just right now make a drinking game out of how many times I screw up these names throughout the course of this video.
Well, whistle me Dixie.
Drink up. The MOTU TH-X00 is a dynamic driver headphone, so is the HD-6XX, and the HE-5XX is a planar dynamic headphone. And then on top of that, these two are open back, and this one is semi-open back. So let's highlight these MOTUs for a minute, because they're the ones that I think people are going to be the least familiar with. This headphone came out of a MOTU headphone called the TH-600. But in listening to these headphones in practice, they sounded a lot more like the TH-900, which is their flagship. And you can't buy these anymore. These headphones went out of production after whatever the licensing deal was between Massdrop and MOTU. They decided not to do another run of these. And I can understand why. These sound so much like the TH-900 that I think MOTU balked and said, you guys are cutting in too much into our sales of our flagship headphone model, and we're not going to do another run of these. So they came up with another design called the XEMU Purple Heart, which has allegedly a very similar driver and a very similar sound signature. But if just taking a look at that headphone and looking at the ports and the ergonomics of it and the way the cup is shaped, I've not heard it, but I can pretty much guarantee there is no way they will replicate the sound of this headphone. So how remarkable are these? They are so good that they sell today for more than their original list price.
Hello.
That's right. Go on eBay and take a look, punch in some of these models, the TH-X00, Purple Heart, ebony, whatever, and you will see they sell for more than the original list price. This is a $400 headphone originally. I think they're selling for around $550. The ebonies are even north of that. So that tells you there is something very special about this headphone. Now, the big question is it better than either of these two? I don't know. That's what we're going to find out. And we're going to break these headphones down now, and I'm going to go through some of the sound properties, and then we're going to take a look at sound structure and talk about some musical tracks, and we will eventually come to a winner. So let's zoom in. Taking a look at the HD-6XX right now, and if you'll notice on these, there's a lot of dust and lint and crud on them, and the reason is because I just stopped listening to these, and I'm actually kind of sorry because I had a listening session where these didn't really deliver for me an amazing treble, and I really thought that they came across veiled, and I kind of set them aside and forgot about them. After this shootout, I have a renewed appreciation for them, and one of the things that when we talk about sound properties that surprised me with these headphones is the imaging. The imaging on this headphone was remarkably nice. Now, I'm not saying that it gives you that laser pinpoint precision that some of the other headphones do, but it's pleasant. But when you really talk about great imaging, you got to look to this TH-5XX, because these are imaging champs. You got to get up into $700-800 headphones before you're going to touch the imaging on this headphone. And then the Fostex, these don't image as well. They give you a sense of balance, and of course, you get the left and the right. But when you start getting into is it like more at 1 o'clock or more at 10 o'clock? Not so much. I mean, they give you an area that things come from, but they're not great imaging headphones. However, these headphones have a surprising amount of speed, and I don't know if it's the BioCellular's driver or what it is, but they give you a nice leading edge. Not up to the TH. We're going to get a lot of headphones going on here. Not the speed of the planar dynamics, and when you get to the leading edge of the note and how sharp it is right on the waveform, these headphones do a great job. These headphones, the HD-6XX, they're the slowest of the bunch. Now, moving on to SoundStage, and the HD-6XX did another surprise for me. I put these on, and I was surprised at how wide the SoundStage got. Now, it wasn't as wide as the planar dynamic open for days HD6. I got to get this out of the way of the microphone. HD-6XX, but pretty decent soundstage for this $200 headphone. It opened up wide. The TH-X00 doesn't have the widest soundstage. However, the party trick of the TH-X00 is that it gives you a circular soundstage that surrounds your head. The other two headphones go out. This one goes around, more like a halo effect. But when we talk about dynamics, this is the first area where the Fostex starts to rear its prowess. Prowess? I don't know. It's a word. The Fostex have tremendous dynamics. The difference between those softest notes and those loudest notes, these give you surprises all over the place. They're helped by a very robust bass, and we're going to talk about bass in a second, but these will go from quiet to blaring your head off in light speed and, sound speed. Not light speed, right? Come on. So it's late. I'm starting to get a little punchy. The HD-6XX, these are, again, they're competent. They're competent and confident headphones. They go about their business. Will they give you this amazing dynamic experience? No, not really. But there's enough going on here to make them a very pleasant experience. But then, as I talked about in the shootout, the issue with dynamics in the HE-5XX, you're playing these at such a loud volume to get that bass going that the dynamics don't have a chance to shine because you're just playing everything so loud. Your noise floor is so loud. When you throw something loud on top of it, it's loud on top of loud. It's not going to call attention to itself or lend itself to many surprises. And with that, we're going to move on to sound structure. And when I talk about sound structure, I talk about the bass, I talk about the mids, and I talk about the treble, in that order. So let's talk about bass. And the weakest bass of the three is by far the HE-6X. drink. When it comes to bass, the weakest of the three is the HE-5XX. And I think I've talked about the trouble with the bass on these. You have to turn it up to get the bass going, and even then you're going to get a mid bass. And once you get to that 200 hertz, 150 hertz sort of area, there's a noticeable fall off. And when you listen to something on another headphone that's got a lot of sub bass, and then you bring the same track into these, you're like, whoa, what happened? The HD-6XX, however, do have nice bass. It's not the most engaging driving bass you're ever going to hear, but it's there, and these do thump, and they thump nicely. They kick you in the back of the head a little bit. It's not going to blow you away. You won't ever say, these are the most reference of the three. They're probably the flattest, except for the mids, which are a little recessed. They are probably the flattest of the three overall. But now let's really talk bass. And what I'm going to talk about is this TH-X00. This headphone delivers a bass experience like few other headphones on the market. Certainly nothing anywhere near the price point of these when they were new, $400. It is a bass headphone. It is rich, it is thumping, the bass is detailed, it is back of the head kicking, soul thumping, great balls of fire, oh my god, bass for days.
Holy moly!
Can they boom a little bit? Yeah, maybe a little bit of bloat in there, but you know what? It's like saying that the Mona Lisa is smiling a little too much. These headphones deliver bass enjoyment on a guttural level. They will shake your bones. And now back to our normal sound structure. And let's talk about mids for a second. Mids on the HD-6XX, maybe the best of the three. I super enjoy the mids on this. They have that little bit of recession that I really enjoy. The mids on the Fostex are even more recessed, and probably too recessed, to be honest with you, if you're in a purist thing. Are the mids fantastic on this headphone? They're very good. What I will say though is that these headphones are fast enough to where the mids never get congested, whereas the HD-650 occasionally will, as you will see going forward, get a little bit on the congestion side in the middle because of the slowness of the headphone. Now the mids on the Drop 5XX are fantastic. They're a little bit on the elevated side for my taste, so they do push the shouty a little bit, but the headphone is so fast it keeps everything nice and split apart in the mix. Nothing ever falls over itself. It never gets that globbiness, congested feel. They stay fantastic. My only knock on these is that the mids are a little on the elevated side. I don't really like that sound. Moving on to the treble. The treble is probably the weakest on the HD-6XX. There is some clarity going on here. It's just there's not a lot of sparkle up top. Like if you look for like a little bit of shimmer or something that really makes the headphone sparkle and dance in that upper frequency range, this headphone won't do it. Now the treble on the Fostex is crisp. It's a very nice treble with great sparkle and just enough at the top to keep you interested on those amazing tracks that have that brightness up top without getting shouty. It's a little on the safer tuning on the headphone on the treble, whereas the HE-5XX is the most aggressive through the treble. This headphone has the best treble because it's remarkable and it's so detailed and so fast, but it also has a slight propensity to push you into that grating harshness on the treble end of things. So let's put all of this sound elements into an actual music situation. The first track I'm going to call your attention to is Los Lobos Kiko. It's one of my favorites for demoing music because it has so many different components in it that I love to test. From bass slam, and that's this headphone. When you hear the bass slam on Kiko and Dreamin' Blue on this headphone, it will knock your teeth out. It will head shake, rattle your teeth out, and not in a fatiguing way. That's the great part. Never in a fatiguing way, just in a pure, enjoyable way. Whether you're listening soft, whether you're listening loud, you will get that bassy feels to this that you just love. And once it gets into the middle of the song where some of the other instrumentation starts coming in, there's a propensity on that song to get shouty with the wrong headphone. This headphone never gets shouty. It does play it nice and safe through the mids, and it's a great experience. This headphone for that track is fantastic. The drop was the least impressive on this track because, again, the bass. That fall off in the sub bass, and this song is built for sub bass. You're really missing it on this headphone. And once it gets into the instrumentation, it's kicking into that shouty range in the mids, which really knocks this headphone out of the competition for me on that song. And again, competent, nice time with this track on HD-6XX. And I would even tell you that I wound up, while I was listening to this song, I was so enjoying it, I actually went 2 or 3 songs deep before I thought, hey, I gotta move on to something else because I've got other stuff to do. It's that enjoyable. Such an enjoyable experience with this headphone on that track. Now, you know I love to throw an obscure reference to you when it comes to music, and today's obscure reference is going to be Little Feat. Now, a lot of people know this band and love this band, but they never really hit the mainstream. They were never one of the 70s supergroups. They were always one of the fringe groups. And George Lowell is an absolute legend in amongst musicians. He wrote great music. He came from Frank Zappa's group, the Mothers of Invention, and formed this group Little Feat in the early 1970s. And their albums, little by little, built their legend to the point where guys like Jimmy Page were just awed by Little Feat. And a number of these great musicians sat in on some of their sessions through the years too. They're kind of like the nexus of Leonard Skinner meets Allman Brothers meets the band. They've got this rootsy feel to it. The album we're talking about today is a live album. It's called Waiting for Columbus, and it's a concert recorded in Columbus. It's got that slamma-jamma southern sound, honky-tonk piano jamming out the tunes, and then it's even got some Dixieland and some synths in there in some of the tracks. Fantastically diverse group and enjoyable, beautiful wide sound stage. The HD-6XX nearly won this for me because of their overall confidence and staying in the pocket. It's just that the spectacular cohesion of the Fostex with the bass and the driving, I super enjoyed that. However, you could make a case for the 5XX too because, as I said, that soundstage was brilliant. And my feature of the day, the group I really spent a lot of time with all 3 of these headphones, would be Yes.
Yes.
I did a little run through Yes, and the album I'm talking about today is the Yes album.
Yes.
And Yours Is No Disgrace. I loved the slam that the Fostex had on this headphone. The HD-6XX drink. The HD-6XX had that driving thump similar to the TH-X00. However, the mids got a little bit on the congested side on this album. But the headphone that I'm really going to give this album to is the HE-5XX because you listen to this record loud, and it's an album that I crank up. And when you're talking about cranking up sound, that's where this headphone hits its element. So let's start wrapping up this epic shootout between the 3 Drop headphones. And I'm glad I did this because Drop is coming into its own. I mean, their headphones, they're selling more headphones maybe than anybody else right now because they're trying stuff and they're going in different directions and they're doing these partnerships that bring the masses without the drop. Sorry, I had to.
Get out!
To audiophile headphones. And what I would say is the HE-5XX is the most technically proficient of all of these headphones. It's got great speed, it's got drive, it requires a shit ton of power, but when you put that shit ton of power through these, man, they open up and they do spectacular tricks and they really call attention to themselves. They've got tremendous imaging, super wide soundstage, fantastic. I just don't know that with all of the power these require that they're worth it, and I also think that I really miss the sub bass. I wish they had tuned in and not clipped that sub bass the way they did on this headphone. It's the Achilles heel by far, and it's the reason I can't pick these as my favorite. The HE-5XX, this headphone, as I said, I've alluded to this a number of times today, it surprised me the most. I grew a new love for these, a new like for these anyway, when I listened to them.
Nice.
The clamping pressure still, the ergonomics are a little wonky on it, but the sound is so proficient at $200. It's almost like I've been pushing those Moondrop Starfields, and this is sort of the Moondrop Starfield of the over-ear world. They get you so much for so little. You almost can't pass up. Why not have a pair of these just sitting around? But the winner for me, because I'm going to pick one,
Pick a winner.
and I'm not saying it, is the Fostex TH-X00.
Booyah.
And there's a reason that these things are selling for more than their original list price. This is a special headphone, and people are still willing to pay a lot of money for these, and that should tell you something about the legacy of this headphone and how much I wish Massdrop, now Drop, would get their act together and make another deal to be able to produce these again, because the world needs more of these. So that is our walk through the drop out, drop off, drop under, shootout between three tremendously proficient headphones for a very entry-level budget price. Any of these will give you a quality experience. The question is what do you prefer? How much do you want to spend? And how much amp do you have? Before we go, I'm going to ask you one more time, like and subscribe. Let's keep growing this channel. Stay with me. Keep going. We're going to get more headphones like these in here. We have plans coming up in the future. I don't have anything major planned for this week, but I think I'm going to be back later in the week with something for you guys. I think I'm going to get bored, frankly, because I got a couple of days off and not much going on with this lockdown. We're all staying home. So I'm probably just going to put up some nonsense later in the week and just have a little fun. So I'll have another episode once I figure out something to do. If you have any suggestions, put it in the comments below. And until then, I will be back before you know it.